in the top left-hand corner.
There we go. All right, I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the DeSoto Area School District, Monday, May 17th, 2021, at 7:03 p.m. in the Middle High School Commons. Roll call, please. Gary?
Jess Boardman,
Yes.
Gary Fox, yes. Kirk Holiday,
He will not be here tonight.
Brett Hudson,
Better?
Jeff Long,
Here.
Rick Pedretti,
Yes.
Sarah Spinks,
Here.
Ryan Benner,
Yes.
and Kevin Wallace.
Yes.
All right, with that, giving public notice, please, Lindsay.
The agenda was posted on school doors in the Marin County Times on 5/12/21 at banks and post offices in DeSoto, Ferryville, Genoa, and Stoddard, at Pronto, Ferryville Cheese Store, and Red Mountain Store on 5/14/21, and broadcast over WVRQ radio.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, with no additions or corrections to the agenda, we'll move on to 5.0, which is the nomination and election of new officers. Do we have a nomination for president?
Don't we need to approve the agenda?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Make a motion then to approve the agenda as presented. I'm sorry. Motion by Kevin, seconded by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now is what I said. So we need a motion then for president.
The president?
Yes.
I nominate Rick Pedretti.
We got a nomination.
I'll
for
second
Rick
that.
Pedretti, seconded by Gary Fox. Are there any more nominations?
I cast a motion to leave all positions the same.
How about you do that on the next one?
Okay.
This one where we're at. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so Kevin,
I would make a motion that we leave all positions on the board the same as they currently are. Someone else has a different opinion.
I'll second.
we have a motion to leave the officers as they currently are. We have a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of that? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So then we go to board correspondence. I don't think you meant for that. I think you meant for officers. So board correspondent. Do we give these all to Kirk since he's not here?
I think that's a good idea. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Anyway, who was the board correspondent last year? I don't have that list.
Were you last year? No.
I don't, that just means you go up. What's that? Yeah. You can put me down for board correspondent if you
I
want.
think that's what you did.
Yeah. So I would be willing to do it if somebody wants to nominate me.
I will nominate.
Okay.
Or second.
All right, nomination by Gary Fox, seconded by Jeff Long. Any discussion on that one? Okay, then I'd say, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For WASB delegate and alternate delegate,
Brent, you on?
Brent is volunteering.
I would make a motion
Okay.
there.
Okay, we got a motion by Kevin and seconded by Darius for Brent to be the WASB delegate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. CISA delegate.
Do we have to
Don't we
do
have
an
an
alternate,
alternate?
Rick? I think 5.6.
Well,
says
Brent was,
we have an alternate.
last year, we just had Brent do it. And it was going to work out that he wasn't going to, we would address it, but I don't think we did an alternate last year. It's just,
Somebody interested in?
we don't have an alternate board correspondent and an alternate everything, right? I don't know why we always worry about that. Yeah. CISA delegate.
That Brent as well?
Who was it before?
Kirk? What's Kirk?
I think it was Kurt.
And it was. I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Kevin to nominate Kirk and seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. You guys, we can talk about committee assignments. You can contact me individually, or if you want to be on the ones you're on, if you want to be on a different one. We'll make those. Meeting dates. I thought they looked pretty good.
Yep.
The third Monday, except for October when we do the fourth Monday.
I don't know, it worked out good. It wasn't the Monday after deer hunting season. It wasn't the September of elk hunting.
Yep.
Pretty good. Did anybody have any concerns though about those dates? Okay, if there aren't any concerns, I'd ask for a motion to approve the meeting dates as presented. Motion by Brent, second by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any reason to have any other official newspaper than the one we currently have, which is the Broadcaster?
It's been renamed Vernon County Times.
Oh,
Different name, right?
Yeah, Vernon County
when
Times.
was that official?
About a month ago,
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
All right.
at
So-
least this month.
Well, it would be them then. Unless anybody has any other ideas. If not, we'd ask for a motion. Stick with the times.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Jeff, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're to public comment time. We do have at least one.
I just have to find it. We received an email with a request to read this during public comment time from Roger Fedler, Ridge Street, DeSoto, Wisconsin. Recently, my daughter Desiree Fedler was contact traced from a fellow student that was tested positive for COVID-19. My understanding is according to the current protocol, she is not allowed to go to school for 2 weeks since the initial contact date. Desiree has been tested at a clinic and is confirmed negative for COVID-19, and she has a signed certificate from the doctor. The doctor says being she is negative, she is not limited to any activities. Her work at McDonald's in Prairie du Chien has no limits on her, and she can work there. We have not received any limitations or quarantines from the county or any other government agency yet. She is not allowed to attend school in person until the days of quarantine have been met per DeSoto School District protocol. If the school board would, could you please address this issue and determine if the current protocol is the best direction of education for our fellow students? Last night, and this additional note came on May 11th. Last night, I was talking to my wife, Lisa, and she was telling me how at her work at Gunderson Hospital in La Crosse, that if someone has been traced and are tested negative, that they are allowed back to work right away. I would also like to express my gratitude to the school board and staff for having in-person classes during this COVID-19 epidemic. I am grateful that we have an online education system set up to limit our students falling behind. I am impressed with the variety of classes and activities offered to our students and enjoy bragging to other people how wonderful our little school is.
Well, thank you for that, and I think we'll be talking about that at our next month's meeting anyway, right? Since it's not an agenda item, we can't address it this month anyhow. But thanks for the concern.
Yep.
Okay, were there any other letters to be read for public comment?
No.
Okay, so with that then, we move on to committee and other reports. First, we have the Finance and Personnel Committee report.
Yes. Finance and Personnel Committee met on May 13th. The items that were discussion and reviewed were administration contracts for 2020-21 and 21-22, Art Club 1% contract proposal, elementary art contract, FMLA leave, items from building and grounds and transportation, costs for projected into this year and next year, an elementary ELA reading and math interventionist position. Anyone from that committee wish to add anything more?
That's,
Building and Grounds and Transportation Committee met on May 12th. The following items were reviewed: energy usage, building updates, maintenance long-range plan review, outdoor inclusive area off the middle school side of the middle school, high school building, bus garage fuel tank, track information, old gym HVAC rebid, retaining wall, Prairie View ADA door, Prairie View roof flashing, and high school, middle school rooftop unit. And the policy committee met tonight on May 17th to review memorial policies for future memorials.
any questions on any of that?
Further information will come forward that are agenda items during the board meeting.
With that, we'll move on to receipts and expenditures. Anybody have any questions?
I would point out that in your revenue, there was a required DPI mandated change from 60 account to the 21 account. So that was basically journal entries that occurred, and that is where you see no information on the original budget or revised budget, but the FYTD activities and balance on the journal entry change from 60 accounts to 21 accounts. And that would have showed up on your revenue report.
One other one I had, Lindsay, I should have asked you this one before. What was that? You said, I can't, I'm not going to read it because that should have been said.
Cubits.
If you're not sure what it is, you can look it up.
Yep, I can look that one up. Oh, yes, I do know what those are. Those were a purchase of 4 of these, you sit in a chair and you bike. They're an exercise type bike that we use in special ed for our students who need more movement and more exercise. And so if they can be busily bicycling, they can maintain learning. So 4 of those were purchased.
That was on the P cards, and I didn't know how to say the word. I didn't know CUBIS, so I just showed it. Anyway. Are there any other questions on receipts and expenditures? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the receipts and expenditures. That's presented. Yeah. We'll take a motion by Ryan and a second by Jeff. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next would be the approval of the minutes dated 4/19/21. There were a lot of them, but they look good.
We tried to approve.
There's no questions on those minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve them as presented. Motion by Jess, second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is resignation, hiring, transfer, and approval of volunteers.
We received a resignation from Darren Fulsing, who's been our technology education teacher at DeSoto Middle School and High School for the end of the school year. He's been here with us for 7 years, and we wish him well in his new endeavors.
There's no other hirings or anything else.
We are still in the process of doing interviews. I know that we'll probably hear from Mr. Fulsing and Mr. Olson that they're conducting music interviews in the LMC director interview, and we will be looking to post other positions to fill that we have available as openings. So right now, no.
Okay. I'd ask for a motion then to accept that resignation. Motion by Brent, second by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is donations. There are a couple.
It looks like we have some donations for the track team, and Kathy Lockington for a Gaga Ball for Stoddard Elementary. So I'm going to let Mrs. Moline, if she wants to join, to talk about the track teams. And then we'll let either, well, I guess Mr. Fulsang to jump in afterwards to talk about a Gaga Ball, and I hope I pronounced it correctly.
All right. Thank you. Well, it looks like we are really excited to share out all of the donations which we have had for the trap team so far. The ones over the school board approval needed that we're looking at is going to be one coming in for from the Genoa area. I know that Jim Kruger helped raise the money, and it's going to be in Wild's name for our trap team. So that will be needing approval. It looks like we have $1,000 in merchandise or equipment from the Retreat Sportsman's Club. In addition, we just received a donation from the Stoddard Wild Game Feed for an additional $1,250. So we have a couple really big donors, in addition to numerous other businesses, individuals, and supporters of our trap team. So we're excited with our 40 participants and heading into getting ready to prepare for state with some practice meets coming up.
You had a kid shoot a 25, or maybe you even had more than one. I don't know, but a 25.
Yeah, we have one of our middle school students shot a perfect score the other night, which we're very proud of.
Well, we can take Mr. Walliser and Mr. Pedretti on then.
Yeah, well,
May the best man win. Mr. Fulsang, are you there to talk about the Gaga Ball?
Yeah, it's a octagon-shaped game where you put a ball in the middle, and Kathy Lockington donated one up in Arcadia where she lives, and the kids really like it, so she wants to try it down here. And the kids kind of push the ball around, and if it hits your legs, you're out, and then you step out of the arena. So just another fun thing that we can do at recess time. So we appreciate her donation.
Pronunciation?
Gaga.
Gaga.
Gaga? Okay. I wasn't sure if we were talking about a musician entertainer or if this was really what it was.
Yeah, she can come too and play.
Thank you, Mr. Fulsang.
Dress code. Yeah. Okay, so
That'd be something.
if there aren't any questions, we'd ask for a motion to approve those donations as presented. Okay, Jeff, you got a first, makes the motion, Kevin will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to all those donors and all the people that helped solicit all those donations. That's very generous of your time and money. Okay, there's still no funding requests at this time?
No, there are none.
Okay, then we move on to the insurance renewals.
The insurance information was presented by Janice Wabra. She presented to the Finance and Personnel Committee and then moved presentation to each one of the school buildings. So there was an opportunity for all district employees at their building level to receive that information on the renewal. And it is my recommendation that the school board support the renewal for our health, dental, long-term disability, life insurance, and then the option for employees to purchase short-term disability at the renewal rates that were noted in your packet.
Does anybody have any questions on what they saw in those renewals or anything? I think it works out pretty good. Increase is small.
The original renewal rate was 9.72, and in working, Janice was able to get it under 2%. So,
And staff has seen this too, right?
and staff, she presented at each one of the buildings in a virtual presentation for our staff. Our dental came in 5% less than last year, and our life insurance came in at 0% increase. Voluntary short-term disability was a 0% rate increase, and long-term disability was a 0% rate increase. So we're very appreciative for Janice's advocacy on behalf of a small district, which has a small staff, and the work that she did to help keep the cost of the district low.
If there are any questions, then I would ask for a motion to approve these insurance renewals as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jess. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is legal and regulation policy updates.
So I apologize, this was meant to be on the board agenda, and since it wasn't, we needed to move it to the May agenda. The policy committee had previously reviewed the updates and legal changes. Those are basically requirements. We can't go outside of legal guidelines, whether they're state or federal, as well as any kind of editorial updates. So we would ask for board consent to approve those policies as presented previously.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 8.8, is support staff letters of intent.
As you do for teachers, you approve the list of returning teachers each year, which has already been done, and teacher contracts were sent out by May 15th, and they're due back by June 15th. We also then take action to provide our support staff with letters of intent to renew their positions for the next school year. And you have a list of staff who we are recommending to be renewed for next year through a letter of intent.
Any questions on the support staff letters of intent? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve that list. Okay, motion by Ryan, second by Jess. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.9 is the 2021-22 WIA membership renewal.
We would like to maintain our membership for our high school athletics in the WIA, and would request the school board approve that continued membership.
I know they didn't charge last year for membership, and it looks like they're not charging this year. Do you know what is it generally, what the membership generally is?
Usually runs us about $1,000. It's per sport, so different sports I think are like a $50 or $60 level in the past. And based on the number of sports that you offer, that totals up to your membership dues. But they have not charged for the last several years. They are certainly reviewing that, and that may occur. Due to COVID, the WIA sustained a considerable loss in revenue because those tournament series games were held, the seasons were reduced, but the normal participation numbers who you would expect to be in attendance at events was significantly smaller. And the tournament for the state tournaments did not have the attendance, which is their primary source of revenue. So we'll be benefactors for another year of not having to pay dues, but we'll see where that goes.
So we need a motion then to
Maintain
our membership with the WIAA.
I'll make that.
Okay, motion by Brent, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is 8.10, the 2021-22 open enrollment applications.
On the back side of your, in your packet, you have a current open enrollment out list and a new open enrollment out application that you can see. And, we recommend approving those. The majority of those students have never been our students in the first place. They have always started potentially somewhere else. And are maintaining that affiliation.
Any questions on the list? We've tried in the past, we've talked about people who are trying to send out surveys and find out why people are open enrolling out, but we don't get much feedback from that. And mostly it's convenience. At any rate, we need a motion to approve the list as presented.
Make that motion.
Motion by Jess, second by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.11 is the 21-22 CISA 4 contracts.
In your packet are CISA 4 contracts. We contract with the service agency each year to provide services that are essential for our students. As you look through the list in your packet, reading specialist is a requirement of the DPI, and so we contract that service rather than have an individual who's here all year on staff. We are able to bring in that individual to help us review curriculum, teaching practices, enrichment, as well as intervention practices with our staff. And so as you look through those, PBIS coaching is that positive behavior intervention strategies. This primarily consists of training for our staff because there are 3 different levels of skill sets that are involved in PBIS. We also have basic services to deal with our title consortium, our Charles Perkins grant. Our consortium isn't a charge to us, but if we had title services that weren't being provided by Mrs. Moline, there certainly would be a considerable charge for those services. So we appreciate her efforts to do it in-house and significantly reduce any costs the district incurs. Student support services, we do have, a school counselor at the middle high school. We are trying to find a part-time elementary counselor, but we also utilize CISA 4 staff, Jesse Sloan, primarily to provide our youth mental health training to our staff, as well as services to our students and training for our students. The DAC support deals with the annual state assessment, and we've discovered that it is getting more cumbersome each and every day in the online format, as well as working through their online format to set up the actual testing and testing tickets. It's placed a considerable burden on our guidance and our administration, Mrs. Moline, Mr. Ferget, a little bit on myself to make that happen for our students. So we would like some of that service support so there's no errors. And then that last page there, we do get some audiology support hearing impairment support, occupational therapy, and physical therapy support for our students who have disabilities in that area. So these aren't anything new that we haven't done in the past, but are much valued services to support our own staff and our students.
Questions on the services? If not, then I'd ask for a motion to approve the services as requested. Okay, a motion by Jeff, seconded by Darius. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the 21-22 extracurricular contracts for fall, winter, and year-round activities.
I appreciate Mr. Erke putting these together with Jackie Cruiser because, as you know, Mr. Erke has resigned that position. We do have it posted, and we'll be conducting interviews shortly so that whoever is hired is able to work with Mr. Erke before the end of the year. What we do want to do is make sure that if we do have openings, we are able to have adequate time to promote those so that those people are hired at least for the upcoming fall year. There may be one error on that indicating that our elementary counselor, Kurt Gaylor, is returning to do middle school basketball, and in fact, he is not because he'll be out of state. So that would need to be removed from that list for approval.
And just to point out, there are things on this list that aren't occurring too, right? So there are some activities on here that we are not having, and so they won't necessarily be expenses.
That's correct. There might be some that don't occur because we don't either have a student interest or we don't have an individual who is interested in advising or coaching that particular position. So they don't always occur every
Right.
year.
Yep.
Now the other one would be
Okay.
next, yeah.
All right, if there aren't any questions, I'd ask for approval of this list of extracurricular contracts for fall, winter, and year-round activities. I make that motion. Motion by Jess Lordman. Need a second? A second by Jeff. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is the student teaching agreement with UW Superior.
All agreements between universities, whether it's Viterbo or UWL or any UW school, when we have a student teacher placement, goes to the school board to be approved. We're very fortunate that Kelsey Woodward is able to work in her current capacity and also achieve her student teaching experience with us here at school. And that agreement would be with UW Superior. Kelsey's been on a 3-year emergency contract, emergency license, while she has obtained her teaching certification.
Any questions about that agreement? Could I ask for a motion then to approve that agreement? UW Superior, motion by Brent, second by Ryan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the high school art club extracurricular contract.
Chris Abrudos presented to the Personnel and Finance Committee in regards to a contract to provide an art club. This would be an activity that would involve students in after-school times. It is similar to our other curriculum type committees. Art club does do some competitions, just similar to what you might see for Skills USA or Math Club, or even FFA. So we definitely want to encourage her to develop that academic correlated activity for our students. As you notice by just looking at that list of coaches and advisors, we have far greater athletic coaches than we do in our other areas. And so we certainly support the growth that is available to students who participating in these organizations.
She gave a really nice presentation to our committee, and she's got a lot of goals. I think it's gonna be money well spent. So if there are no questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve that contract. Motion by Darius, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, 8.15 is an elementary art teaching contract.
Yes, our proposal is for that art teaching contract to be full-time. It has been 4 days a week. We recognize that we have also posted that elementary music position to be a full-time contract, not 4 days a week. What this would entail is the person who's currently in the position would then have 5 days. That's Meg Buchner. Meg would alternate Fridays at both elementary schools. However, 2 Fridays a week, she would be involved in talented and gifted programming at the elementary level. We have a handbook for talented and gifted. We are part of the Mississippi Valley Talented and Gifted Network, and our students have opportunities in a variety of areas, not just art, but academic, intellect, leadership, different activities that allow each student to have enrichment as well as advancement opportunities. So in combining this position, we'll see more art at the elementary schools, and we'll have someone who is working directly with students in those buildings to provide those kind of enrichment activities to our students who are highly creative and have other skill sets that make them fall into those categories of gifted and talented.
Any questions on this proposal? Okay, now we need a motion then to accept it. Motion by Brent, seconded by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So our next item then will be the elementary ELA/reading and math interventionist.
And I'll ask Mrs. Moline to feel comfortable in joining in if she would like to. This is actually a position that is going to expand on our current interventionist, a math interventionist, to be a position that is for reading and math. It will actually be kind of a combined. We believe that there may be someone interested who would sub 2 days a week while someone is on FMLA, and then provide the other 3 days a week to working as an interventionist also in our elementary schools, at both schools. And then when the FML leave was up, that person would shift to 5 days. We will use a variety of funding to offset the cost of that, Title I, Title II, REAP, and some of our ESSER funds. However, the regular education budget, Fund 10, would be responsible for the cost of the days that they were subbing for the individual who was on FML leave. But Mrs. Moline, if you would kindly speak to the additional intervention that will assist our students in both ELA and math.
Absolutely, thank you. I believe that this position, based on consultation with both of the elementary principals as well, that this will really fit the needs that we have at the school district with some additional supports. as we look at, as a district-wide administrative team, the additional ESSER funding coming into our school district, and how we want to continue to support our students, our learners, and close any of those gaps that they may have, in particular in those core academic areas. Reading is one of those that requires that special 316 license, and our Title I teachers and classroom teachers are all working hard at that, but I think it would be great to have that additional support with the right certifications as we move forward, shared between the two buildings, as the grants can cover that amount of funding.
Our proposal, as we would post the position, would be, it would be listed as a grant-funded position, which means funding would be available next year and possibly the year after. But when the grant funding dries up, the position might not be able to be maintained by the district. So it is listed and would be advertised as a grant-funded position.
Any questions? Not, I'd ask for a motion to approve that position as presented. Motion by Darius, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next is Buildings and Grounds Project Requests.
Yes, I would start by saying the Prairie View needs to have a door replaced to meet ADA requirements. The door no longer functions by pressing the button to automatically open for people who have physical disabilities or physical challenges and need that to work. The cost for replacement is $3,444. I just want to make the board aware that to be compliant, we have gone ahead and ordered that because we do not know the turnaround time. There's currently none in stock. And so we could potentially get it in this fiscal year, or it might fall into next fiscal year. But to be in compliance with ADA, we definitely needed to make sure it was on order. The other things that we would like to bring forward to the school board for consideration is, let's see, I want to make sure I get this right. For next year's budget, we would appreciate the school board approving the Benedict bid for HVAC equipment, as well as the Bechtel bid that we have for Prairie View School flashing. And the high school and middle school rooftop units. We have 3 that we need to replace. We would like board approval to proceed with replacing one of those units, at least in the initial planning for next year's budget year.
Those items, I didn't catch it, they're coming out of the maintenance budget or they're coming out of the fund 10 or general fund or?
Well, we would be looking at next year's budget. Diane would build it into the preliminary presentation in June then, but to get on the potential docket, we would want to proceed so that some of that work could be done this summer. And so it will show up in that budget, and we'll find out where that falls, if it is able to be maintained within the Fund 10 budget, if we're going to use any of the ESSER funds to support any of these costs. We do know that the state was supposed to receive $3.2 billion and just received notification that that is being cut by the federal government by $700 million down to $2.5 billion. We anticipate that of our anticipated $500,000 allocation of these ESSER funds, that there's likely to be a reduction in those to school districts. But some of those funds can be spent for essential facility improvements to ensure the well-being. One of them is ventilation. So HVAC systems are certainly something that is an allowable expense. So we'll be taking a look at Fund 10, we'll be taking a look at our fund balance, and we'll be taking a look at the ESSER funds to put that together in the budget proposal for June.
Thank you.
So, need a motion for some of those requests or something? We're already-
Well, we should have a motion,
Somewhere.
at least for the
Okay.
expensive ones. You certainly can do one for the ADA doors.
Well,
It does fall within our
Let's
jurisdiction.
just
but
do a motion to
you'd welcome
approve
it.
those projects as requested. Okay, motion by Brett, seconded by Darius. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the outdoor inclusive area.
Mrs. Molina, I'm going to have you jump back in here with me on this. We are looking at using some of the ESSER funds to develop an outdoor area just on the middle school side of the building. We
It's,
do have-
sorry,
Go ahead.
the idea funding, flow through funding.
And then we may not need any ESSER funds.
No, we're going to be using IDEA flow through carryover funding that will need to be spent out as we continue to look at long range plans of some bigger ticket items that we'd like to implement with goals. That was one of the topics that we had been considering. So again, it wouldn't use any ESSER funds. It would be using special education flow through dollars, which we have 27 months to spend.
So we didn't really confirm what we're going to do or even exactly where, right?
Well, we are going to have to put some fencing along the highway.
Yep.
As a protective barrier so that kids can't end up out in the street. Right now, when we do have mass breaks out there and kids are exercising, balls and stuff do go out into the street. Teachers or myself stand along the sidewalk and say, stay on the parking lot area. We'll walk out to get the balls. So we would have fencing with the gate that could open and close to allow cars in. We would have fitness equipment in that area that students can use, similar to what you might see out in a park where people are jogging and then they get to a fitness particular unit. They can do some fitness activities on it. Basketball hoops, different things that meet ADA requirements, so our students who have disabilities would be able to access and use some of that equipment. Our kids need to move. They need some more recess and exercise, and we need some more ADA compliant equipment. So we'd like to put it there.
And I also think, for safety reasons, more students who will be entering the 6th grade and spending the next at least 6 years here. The elementary schools have been primarily set up to manage in a safety situations. However, we're continuing to look at those spaces as well to ensure that, they aren't allowed to go out in the street without fencing and things like that. So really excited about this opportunity that would be inclusive for all learners. And in addition, maybe even an outdoor space in which they can learn in and continue to socialize.
And it's a good use of our remaining IDA funds.
We'll work together with buildings and grounds and we'll make that plan.
We would just need approval.
All right.
Now, I got a question on your location on that page.
Right.
Wouldn't you want to move it to the other end of the parking lot?
The other end of the parking lot is too sloped, so we're actually going to move the parking down to the lower right-hand side of that picture.
So you can
And
have
instead of
another
having
entry
a fence that's an L shape, we're just going to run it straight down across the highway.
We're not going to have another entry. What they're going to do is they're going to turn in where the bus barns turn in. And we're going to make an entrance. So it won't be an additional entry off the highway. It would come off the highway, you turn by the buses, and then right there, you turn right into that back parking lot. Yeah. So we wouldn't have to deal with.
But the fence line would go along that sidewalk area in a straight line rather than cut across the parking lot.
But we haven't committed to running a fence across the parking.
Yeah, we're not,
Not
we're gonna run it straight
Right.
along the sidewalk area, along the highway, and not separate the parking.
Yeah.
I guess there, just something for thought, 82 construction is gonna be in the next couple of years,
Right.
So that's something to
Right.
take into effect, new sidewalk and
We want to make sure that our
where
fence
the
isn't,
fencing is
yeah, that's the big thing. Our
Right.
fence isn't going to get torn out
with the
during
new
that
highway.
project.
From what I understand, it's not going to be expensive
Yeah.
widening or anything.
No, this replacement of sidewalk, I think, on this end of the village.
Yeah, the village is going to lengthen their sidewalks further down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice thing to
Yes.
hear.
Okay, well, with that discussion, do we have a motion to approve the outdoor inclusive area? Motion by Darius, second by Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is the administration compensation contracts. I guess we're going to go into closed session and talk about those.
You can come back.
Yep, then we'll come back after closed session and talk about whatever action is going to occur. So with that, we'll move on to principals and directors' reports.
Mr. Ferget, would you like to start us out today?
Sorry about that. I was getting good there for a while, remembering to hit that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Well, we can't hear you now, Tim.
Hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Just some upcoming events. This Friday, we have an academic awards breakfast. Saturday, prom is happening. And let's see, Friday, May 28th, we have graduation. And then 8th grade promotion will occur on the last day of school. So we're kind of winding down the school year. And that's all I have, Mrs. Grunning.
I would just encourage families, we did send out an email to senior parents and students on graduation rehearsal, which will be 9 a.m. on Friday, May 28th, the morning of graduation. There is information on our COVID-19 and school updates page on the district website. So we encourage people to look there for information for both that and the upcoming 8th grade promotion on June 3rd. Thank you. Mr.
Yeah,
Folsey.
that is the last day of school, right? I thought I.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Folsey. Hi.
There you go.
Sorry, pulling up my notes. I already sent them to Gary. All right, here we go. A few weeks ago, unfortunately, we had a tragic accident with a student. We really just want to thank all the community support, and I want to thank the Stoddard staff for working through a really tough situation. It was really hard to hold it together, but they did it, and we worked through it, and we appreciate all the support that came with that. And a tree was planted in her honor at Stoddard Elementary, so that was a nice thing that the staff did. All the students got to go fishing at the boat landing a couple weeks ago. We purchased fishing poles with the rest of our PE budget, and then we took everybody fishing. So caught a few fish down at the boat landing, and then they got to eat lunch. So they really enjoyed that. We've struggled to get out and do those field trips. So it was a fun activity for all grades. We also worked in some field trips to Kickapoo Valley Reserve, Myrick Park, and preschool is going to the splash pad in a couple weeks. So I'm glad they got to do some of those things too. Students wrapped up STAR testing and PALS testing this week. Looking forward to see some of their progress. We have over 65 students signed up for summer school, so they must not be too wore out yet. And then we have over 75 for Jumpstart. So we're going to have a full summer school too. I know students are looking forward to wrapping up the school year. You can kind of feel it in the classrooms now that the weather's nice. So looking forward to getting outside the next couple weeks and doing some things outside too with everybody. And we're excited about Meg kind of joining us full time for art and doing a little Talented and Gifted. And we'll be wrapping up library and music interviews hopefully this week so we can recommend somebody the next school board meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek. Mr. Olson?
In addition to what Derek had mentioned, we had a Culver's Share Night last Monday night. And we're fortunate that 3 of our staff members, Heather Stensling, Melissa Skildum, and Jennifer Gullickson, worked that night. They delivered meals to the cars outside as well as customers inside Culver's. In 4 hours, they raised over $1,000. We're going to use that money to purchase healthy snacks for our students. Last week, the middle school and high school band performed at Prairie View and Stoddard for our students. And Mr. Schaefer is working with our 5th grade students, getting them excited about getting into band next year and planning summer school band lessons for them so they can be off and running at the middle school with their instrument in September. All of our classes have had the opportunity to take an outdoor field trip as well. Today, Mr. Wick and Mrs. Conley took the 4th and 5th grade down to Blackhawk. Mr. Wick does a wonderful job connecting with volunteers, whether it's parents from students in the class or some community members that he has such a good relationship with. So they just really caught a lot of fish today at Blackhawk, and they threw every one of them back. And Mrs. Stensling and her PTO, they're organizing a water fun day for this week from today. So the students are getting pretty excited about that and just hoping for some warmer weather. And feels like we're getting it. Other than that, it's been a great year, and proud of everybody, including the school board, for pushing through, making difficult decisions last summer and at the beginning of the year to have school, and it was well worth it. So thank you.
And I apologize if I missed May 19th. We've got the 5th graders coming from both Stoddard and Prairie View.
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. You didn't miss it. We just didn't mention it.
We are excited to have them come to school. 2 of our 6th graders have gone ahead and prepared a video, a PowerPoint presentation. They went around, took pictures of all the teachers, and they typed up a little bio on what kids are going to learn in that class. So they, the 5th graders, when they come in 2 separate groups, one from Stoddard and Prairie View, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, we'll have a presentation by a couple of 6th graders. I'm just so proud of their involvement, their work. Then they will have a tour, so they'll get to see all the classrooms and the different areas of our building, and they'll also eat lunch here when they come or at the end of their particular trip. So we're looking forward to seeing them all here on May 19th. Thank you very much, Mr. Olson. We'll move on then, Mrs. Moline.
Excellent. I will start by talking about special education. From the last school board meeting, we had approval to purchase a new vehicle. I'd like to thank not only the school board for approving that and the support. We would like to thank Sleepy Hollow for their assistance in locating a vehicle due to not only the pandemic, but the fire where many of the chips for vehicles are made. It's been quite a challenge to be able to locate a vehicle. So you might see us sporting around in this shiny blue vehicle that they were able to locate for us. And it was not really the color of choice, but it was everything else that met our requirements to safely transport students. So we really are thankful for them and their support, and also the items that they gave with the vehicle, the help our students that maybe need a hat or a sweatshirt in the wintertime. In addition, we already mentioned the inclusive outdoor space, and one person that I left out of, obviously, all of our school personnel that's helped so far as we start that discussion. Department of Public Instruction, Christina Spector is our consultant for special education, and she's been very helpful in ideas and guidance in regards to that. So I'd like to thank her as well. We are continuing to work on those federal budgets as the year is coming to a closure, making claims, looking at the particular budgets that have requirements as far as carryover or no carryover, and 15% or the time frame in which things need to be spent out. So working closely with our business office to make sure that that's completed. We also are having a lot of IEP meetings and discussing ESY, so extended school year. As a result of the pandemic, we are visiting with families about their child's progress, and if any of that is a result of our school closure from March 16th of last year to the end of the school year, and the very, very brief limited in-person instruction that we had at the middle school, high school for a few days over this school year. So those discussions have been very much appreciated with the families as we continue to look at what's best for each individual learner. Additionally, since the last meeting, we've had 5 other IEP meetings. Switching gears a little bit, as Mr. Fulsang and Mr. Olson mentioned, we're finishing up PALS. Already the rest of the school district has finished STAR, so our reading and math, our forward assessment, dynamic learning maps, ACT Aspire, and our access for our English learners. So a lot of state testing that had to get wrapped up, and thank you to not only our teachers for helping navigate through that with the administration, but as well as families for some of our learners who have been remote this school year, making the best decision to either opt out of testing or have their child come in to see where they're at academically. The last 2 Fridays, Mrs. Ellis and I have worked with the schools in having child development days to identify incoming families. So it's been exciting for us to meet the next generation of DeSoto Pirates. They're all excited to come in and see what school's about. So we met with one family at a time. And so that's really exciting as we were able to bring them into the building, into the classroom, which was our goal by kind of waiting and developing the best plan for that. Title I, we have purchased some new books for the early levels of instruction that needed some new classroom type libraries to continue supporting the learning of all of our readers at every level in those early grades. So those are arriving, and if teachers are listening and haven't received theirs yet, they'll be delivered because they're all sorted in the back of vehicles if you haven't received them. Tomorrow night, we are having a math night from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock at Stoddard Elementary outside. So some teachers and staff and I are really excited to support that Title I math night, as that's been a big goal throughout the school years to improve our math as well. And then I'd like to just briefly talk about educator effectiveness, how we've been evaluating our teachers in the school district. This was our first year using Google Classroom as a platform. And as the year is starting to come to a conclusion here, it appears like it's had the least amount of issues and worked quite well for our district. The best platform that we've used so far, in my opinion. So just a reminder, we started off with Frontline, and then, we started off with Teachscape, then used Frontline based on the state options. Then we switched to Google Drive, and now we're using Google Classroom to model the same type of online learning and virtual learning that our students may experience if they're remote. Our teachers' portfolios are getting prepared, where they're being reviewed by student learning outcomes or school learning outcomes for our administrators, professional practice goals, evaluations and observations, and review of data. So we're excited for that to come to a conclusion as well. Does anyone have any questions?
Mrs. Moline, did you mention Ashley Witesky's award?
I did not mention that yet. I have it actually pulled up on my phone. So Mrs. Witesky is going to be receiving an award here that Mrs. Groning had nominated her for, and we're really excited to have that announcement. And we don't have all the details yet of when it's going to be awarded to her, because she'd like to have it awarded to her here in front of her own students. So we thought that was pretty exciting. But WCAS, which is the Wisconsin Council of Administrators of Special Services, is going to, she was selected as our CISA 4 Outstanding Special Education Teacher. So congratulations to Mrs. Witesky, and we're really excited for her to receive that.
Thank you for sharing that. And we could also mention too, when we made that purchase of the vehicle, we did have 3 bids from the community for the vehicle that we were looking at a trade-in value, and the winning bid exceeded the trade-in allotment that we would have been given. So we appreciate those who bid, and we appreciate that the winning bid benefited the district.
Thank you for mentioning that. And Mrs. Groning, I did send you a text message because there was a particular contract that I think we wanted to discuss that brief revision for as well, to go into that extended school year to cover the liability.
Thank you. We do want to mention that, and you're making me switch phones here. I should not laugh at myself. All right, messages. Alyssa Zuby has, we have subcontracted her with board approval to provide our school with a school social worker and a clinical social worker to help meet the needs of our students. She, to date, has done an exceptional job, and we want to continue extending this contract into the summer months. To continue to provide these essential services and crisis intervention. One of the things you're probably aware of in the media is that there are a lot of reports on the mental health issues and stresses that are normally something we're seeing as in schools, but have been magnified by COVID. And the concerns that young people have about the illness and if they'll get sick, the combination of virtual and in-school learning that occurred last year, and the stressors. And so we are extending that memorandum of agreement with her through the summer months to continue to provide those services to our students.
And just a clarification, that's also paid for out of a grant.
So we would probably ask that I should have included that in our hiring of staff, and I appreciate Mrs. Moline mentioning it so that we could add that in. So it would include extend over the summer. So do we need to make a separate motion then to make that a part of those hirings?
Yes.
So I would ask that the school board include with our other hirings the continuation of a memorandum of agreement with Alyssa Zuby to continue providing those social work and emergency counseling interventions with our students through the summer months.
Need a motion then to do that? Motion by Jeff, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for that inclusion. Anything else, Mrs. Moline?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work. Mr. Grunning?
Not a lot to report, other than the fact that you have a new phone there, obviously. We purchased 2 phones from FirstNet. That's the company that's running the new phones on the AT&T towers. Actually, the coverage is pretty impressive. Mrs. Grunning can drive all the way from our house through what we call dark territory down on the end by Pretty Valley. all the way up, all the way down to DeSoto Hill, all the way to the parking lot, and be on a meeting, which she was on this morning, without the call dropping at all anywhere. Mrs. Moline has the, because those two are the two staff members that travel the most and need to be in contact most frequently, so we're going to test the system on them. Wasn't bad. It's $45 a month per phone with unlimited text, data, and voice, of course. It also, we paid $5 extra per month for what's called tethering. That means they can turn them into hotspots, so they can connect their laptops and do work at the same time when they're driving. So, so far we're pleased with it. I haven't called AT&T yet to see if it's open to the general public, because they sure aren't promoting it at all. But FirstNet works with the emergency government and regular government entities, and they turned it on for us. So.
This is the Vernon County Sheriff's Department being willing to support the administration at local schools, and I think that's how we first learned about these forms.
They knew when we included, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want to be in dark territory if we're communicating on an emergency. So we've been testing it this week, and we will get those phone numbers out to the school board
Right.
By the end of the week.
Have you found anywhere where they did lose reception?
Yeah, Mrs. Moline, she has had a couple of spots up near Stoddard that it cuts out, but I just asked her earlier. She can talk about it, but.
Yeah. It's very minimal, and it happened actually on the very first night that I was trying it out, and happened to be talking to Mrs. Groning about an upcoming meeting that was going to be happening, and lost and dropped the call. But for the most part, it is amazing the service that we've been able to get. And as Mr. Groning mentioned, that tethering, I was able to tether the phone so a student could take their final state test that was having a difficult time in the classroom outside of the school building. So it's pretty awesome, the things that have been able to work with it. So I'm very pleased.
Cool. Thank you.
We have great coverage.
Betsy Knudsen Mrs. Knudsen is not here this evening, but she said summer meals will be provided during summer school and also during the jumpstart period. So meal service for those who are attending will be available, and then other families who would be interested in that may come to school for pickup, as we've done in previous years. So those summer meals are open to the community to partake in, and students can pick up meals even if they aren't going to summer school or jumpstart. Mr. Boardman and Jackie Kraszewski have given me the building and grounds information. Guy can't be with us, but he said that the varsity softball, which he serves as the varsity assistant coach, won 7-2, but is not able to make it for this meeting. Building updates, the high school, middle school roof has started to be, project has started actually this week. It is a 3-week project. They are where we have prom, and they will do what they need to do to try to make sure that there is nothing in the way of setting up the prom tent on Saturday in the middle school parking lot. The chillers at both Stoddard and Prairie View continue to be problematic. They are both back on the line and should be working. However, Stoddard is only operating on one compressor right now, and they're still supposed to be coming back to check on it. Our 2-unit vents in the middle school continue to shut off. The freeze stats are tripping the units, and custodians go around and reset that regularly. This has been an ongoing problem for years. We do have white residue in the middle school, high school. We do have water softeners. Our new one is functioning well. We have an older model that is not functioning to what we needed to do to prevent all of this buildup. So Culligan has been called, and we anticipate them coming back this week. We have one high school student and one graduate who will be assisting with custodial summer cleaning For custodians, our maintenance intern will be here through the month of August, and Lori will be helping again this summer with painting. We're getting additional bids on extending the fence at Stoddard Elementary as well as here. The extended fence at Stoddard, which is a very short length, is $8,300 on one bid. So we are still looking at additional bids. We'll be putting up some signs that remind the members of the public as they walk their dogs on school property to please clean up any dog messes. We would appreciate that. And then the Prairie View Electrical and Stoddard and middle school, high school, we continue to show that we are saving money by the lighting systems that we put in. However, we remind everyone that March and April's will look a little different because we weren't using our buildings last year. So the year-to-date will look a little different from March through the end of the school year from last year to this year. But we certainly are seeing that we are having that savings at both high school, middle school, and Prairie View. And then the maintenance plan continues to be updated, which we appreciated. This is a long-range plan where facility analysis continues to be made. And while we do our best to extend the life of all of our facility systems, there comes a time when we have to put it on a plan for replacement versus repair. And we know that even though we have one of the RT units for HVAC approved at this night for replacement next year, we anticipate that there still are two more that will need that, and we will address that through the budgeting process as the year unfolds. So I thank Jackie and Guy, the custodians and maintenance, for all the work they do, and especially with the upcoming end of the year events, there'll be a lot of work associated with prom, graduation, 8th grade promotion, and the different activities at the elementary buildings. And my report was kind of contained in everything, so I have nothing else to add. Oh, sure. Would you like to do that?
Go right ahead, you're so eloquent.
I'd like to mention to all of the viewers that in June, we will plan to return to open public meetings. Our meetings will still be broadcast virtually for those who aren't able to attend, but members of the public are certainly welcome. And if my favorite elementary student is watching tonight, I just wanted to say hi to Xander because he pays a lot of attention to school board meetings. And as I mentioned before, he'll probably be Michael Parker's favorite student when he gets up there with all the knowledge he has. Special hi to you. I think you want to move to closed session?
Yes. At this point, then, we will be going to closed session to consider administrative contracts as it says here in the agenda. So we. Oh, sure, we can do
sorry,
that.
apologize. Don't leave yet, everybody. We do have a little information on cross country. I don't think Brandon's joining us tonight, Mr. Grenning. So we're gonna let Mr. Pedretti, who's one of our cross country coaches, talk about the development of our own on-site course.
Sure. Well, we finally, I think we talked about it last fall about building a course out through the woods. And we worked this spring marking a trail, and last weekend we had Chris Ladwin come in with the bulldozer, and he made it a reality. And we got through the woods with, I don't know if you've had a chance to look around in there or not, but it's amazing how he weaved that bulldozer through the woods and disturbed hardly any of the trees that were there, you know, very, very, very few. And it turned out really good. We have about just about 2/3 of a mile of trail that goes up there and around and through the woods. that we did, and we've got it all seated down now, so we're hoping for just a little bit of rain. And I made a little video. I had to do it kind of fast. I didn't want it to be too long on my four-wheeler and kind of buzz through the woods. But the whole course it'll be 2 laps, just kind of like how we talked last spring. We'll start by the scoreboard. It'll run out around the shot put cage and come back down along the creek. Then it'll go up into the woods for that 2/3 of a mile that I talked about. It'll go up the valley by the school or the outdoor classroom, goes up the valley and then kind of up the hill and it parallels the hillside all the way to our property line, and then comes back. And that's a half mile in and of itself going over and back. And then we drop down onto Tim Gillespie's property, and we can run along a trail next to the creek that goes all the way down to the trailer court. And then we bring the service road all the way back, and that's exactly half the distance of a full course. So we'll make 2 laps, and the course will finish right in front of the grandstands. So it turned out perfect.
Mrs. Willeen, do you want to share that video? She's
I will
helping.
try my best.
Pull it up so I can grab it.
Did you hear that?
There you got it.
I'm assuming everyone can see it.
Nope, hang on.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mr. Grunning's still trying to do some magic. There we go.
So you might want to get up and go look at it, get closer to it.
I'm gonna start with it smaller so it affects as soon as the background. Are we ready?
Go ahead.
Yep.
Looked like you went off the course a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't, but I can explain that afterwards.
No.
It looked like we were cheating, but I wasn't.
Trying to get trees or anything?
So this is where we come out of the woods. You can see right here, there's my drags and stuff sitting there, but there's the outdoor classroom down below. Football field, and what you just saw, that was about 1/3 of it. Yep, that was right out here in this woods, right across from the football field. So that was 1/3 of what we did. But, I can probably show you on my phone too. But anyway, it turned out really nice. We're excited about it. We're hoping to get a little bit of rain and have it start greening up.
That tremendous commitment of volunteer time and volunteer equipment, and thank you for arranging it and coordinating it and making sure it could happen for our students to have a nice course right on our own property and a potential to host more meets on our own property because of the quality course we have.
It'll be really nice. I think it'll be as nice as most courses we run on. So anyway, that's that. So we can go into closed session with a roll call vote.
Jess?
Yes.
Gary, yes. Kirk? Brent?
Yep.
Jeff?
Yep.
Rick?
Yes.
Lars?
Yes.
Ryan?
Here.
And Kevin.
I didn't hear it.
Sorry, Kevin.
Are you
Well, I
using
can
the
have that, whatever.
What would you like me to say?
You're releasing the admin team?
Yes, yep, absolutely, yep. Thank you, you all.
Are you in closed session?
Yes, so we need to
Go
go.
and move this over.
Uh,
Okay, so we're back into open session. The school board had considered salary levels for administrative contracts and is making a recommendation for salaries for 2 of those positions. And I would ask for a motion to approve the levels of compensation that we discussed in closed session for the superintendent and for the special ed director. And a motion by Darius to approve those compensations, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So thank you very much. Items for the June 2021 board meeting. We're going to talk about mask mandates.
Mask mandates, welcome the public back to our open meetings, with the virtual meetings still occurring. And Jazz, she's ready to go home. And we'll have a preliminary budget presentation by our business manager for the 21-22 school year.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, then I ask for a motion to adjourn. I make that motion by Jess, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Thank you.
I won't be here then.